Hi folks. Hello gorgeous. Up next is a pair of documentary reviews. It's the Long Way series. I'm going to start off with 2004's Long Way Round. It's about a pair of actors who really love motorcycling, so much so that they decided to take a 3-month trip across the world. The trip entails leaving London and driving all the way through Russia, Mongolia, flying over to Alaska, through Canada, back through the States, and then ending up in New York. The show starts off with a little bit of back history between Ewan McGregor and Charley Boorman. They met on the set of a film and they became fast friends. They both share a love of motorcycling and they've taken a couple of trips together, just camping, biking across the country, and they decided they wanted to do something a lot more substantial. And luckily for us, they got a documentary crew to follow them so that we could vicariously go along for the ride. I really have to tip my hat to these guys for doing this. It didn't seem like they really knew what they were getting into. They just knew that they wanted to do something grand, something amazing, but they also did realize it was going to be difficult. They didn't know exactly how difficult it was going to be, but I do respect people who willingly put themselves into difficult situations because they understand that difficult situations are what make you grow and evolve as a person. It's the difficult situations, like the ones that Ewan and Charley encounter throughout this documentary, that give them a better appreciation of the world around them. Now, you wouldn't think that motorcycling across the world, especially when they're being followed by a safety crew, would be all that dangerous, but quite a few parts of this do feel pretty dangerous. And Ewan and Charley are actors. They're not martial artists. They're not survival experts. They're not really even motorcycle experts themselves either. They just enjoy riding motorcycles. So there are quite a few parts of this documentary that do have a genuine sense of danger. Because the feeling is, what have these two numbnuts got themselves into? Ewan and Charley are both the perfect hosts for a trip like this. They're both very happy-go-lucky. They're always joking. Their friendship seems very genuine. They do have a real kindred spirit, brotherly love. They don't just tease each other like regular guy pals do. They seem to have a real genuine connection with each other, a real trust, a respect, and an empathy. And much like a narrative story throughout this journey, I saw that bond grow and strengthen throughout. You wouldn't think that simple things like pushing a motorcycle through a river or through sand or picking up your buddy's motorcycle over and over again every time he falls off it would do much to strengthen a friendship, but there it was right on the screen. It was inspiring just to see this small group of people come up with an idea and then push themselves to their limits in order to see that come to fruition. Now, this isn't the most dangerous documentary ever made. They do have a support crew following them wherever they go. So it does feel like there is always a safety net around them. Like I said, they are actors. You can't really expect them to put themselves into life-threatening situations. But even with that safety net, even with all of the precautions, even with all of the planning that they've done ahead to make sure that things go as smoothly as possible, they do find themselves in a couple of situations that could be potentially dangerous. Things like running in with possible mafiosos in Russia, wild animals, breakdowns, and just plain fatigue. Plus, just the fact that they're on motorcycles. You never know when someone's going to take a bad spill. It's really nice that they take their time and they show the surroundings. They get to enjoy the countries that they're traveling through, and they get to have actual genuine moments, connections with the people of those countries. Many of the times when they encounter a problem, either getting stuck or experiencing a breakdown, they're helped out by some of the locals. And again, it's really heartwarming and inspiring to see people stop and help a fellow human being, and they don't even recognize Ewan McGregor. They don't even know he's Obi-Wan Kenobi. They just see somebody who's not from around here, and they do their duty, which is to help. It's also nice that Ewan and Charley took the time to do a couple of charity appearances for UNICEF. These are two guys who hadn't seen much of the world, and they wanted to, and they seemed to be perfectly aware that it wasn't going to be pretty. They knew that there were going to be some truly awful sights along the way, and to their credit, they didn't bury their head in the sand like an ostrich. They looked at it, and by making a documentary and including it in this documentary, they were shedding some light on it for the rest of the world as well. And what's really surprising is that their cameraman, Claudio, ends up being quite an entertaining character in his own right. He goes from being the guy who's supposed to be invisible, we're not supposed to know he's there and taking the footage, but I really enjoyed his parts of the documentary too. Again, a nice, easygoing guy, quirky sense of humor, and his footage was beautiful too. It's kind of strange that he disappears for about the last quarter of the documentary. It might not be the most informative documentary, it might not have the best cinematography, but this thing has a hell of a lot of heart and soul. They do a great job of making you feel as though you're along for the ride, both the motorcycling footage as well as the daily video diary entries that Ewan and Charley make. By the end of it, I felt as though I had shared a small part of the experience with them, so I think they accomplished what they set out to do. And for Ewan and Charley, it really was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Although they sure tried to make it a twice-in-a-lifetime experience in the follow-up to this documentary, Long Way Down. Got a question or comment about Long Way Round? Scroll down and go to town. And to join the tribe, hit subscribe. Nerd must stay. Hadouken!